Social media, deadlines, and chronic stress are causing our brains to become overstimulated and fatigued. According to the Virgin Pulse Institute, approximately 76% of people feel tired most days of the week. In surveying 60,000 people for my book Unstoppable, we found that number to be much higher. The higher it was, the less likely people reported achieving their goals. But the peak performers, they were not only achieving their goals at 84% of the time, their drive to succeed was 93%, while their ability to sustain focus was 85%. The shocking fact was that only 48% of them woke up feeling refreshed. The question is, how were they still able to stay focused despite not always feeling energized? They were using advanced strategies that mitigated the negative effects of fatigue, so they could keep going while others were giving up. You see, there are 12 mistakes that people make that drain their energy, dull their focus, and sabotage their productivity. Thankfully, I've got a free quiz for you below that will pinpoint yours. But first, let's take a look at 3 weird but really effective ways to boost productivity, energy, and focus even when you're tired. The last one is the most important and surprising of them all. The first is a natural nootropic I cover in detail in my book Unstoppable. You see, when I was depressed, I was desperately searching for a way to fight fatigue and increase my energy levels. And this is where I came across nootropics. Nootropics are smart drugs either derived from synthetic or natural sources. This nootropic, however, is a naturally occurring amino acid that can be found in chicken, fish, eggs, and legumes, and is often added to protein powders. It helps to regulate your hormones and the production of neurotransmitters in the brain like dopamine, which means it can boost your energy levels, improve your mood, boost motivation, and even reduce stress. It can also help to prevent daytime sleepiness. More than one clinical trial has shown that it improves cognitive performance in stressful and mentally taxing situations like sleep deprivation, extreme cold, and multitasking. A key reason we ask in the free quiz below if you're feeling overwhelmed is because the low levels of this amino acid are linked to irritability, which will drain your energy and focus. This nootropic is called L-tyrosine. You'll find it in countless nootropic stack formulations, including my favorite that helped me to write 3 books in 3 years. If you're struggling with low mood, fatigue, and lack of motivation, supplementing with L-tyrosine is a great first step because it's a basic building block of dopamine, otherwise known as your motivation molecule. This also helps to improve brain function and cognitive performance, which is a key to enhancing productivity. Now, while I'm not a huge advocate of the next step that millions take daily to get themselves off the starting block, I can recommend it when you combine it with a specific natural nootropic that's ridiculously affordable.
If I'd had the money, I could have been living in a swinging condo instead of with, I better not say anything till I've had my coffee. A slut and a moron.
But first, you must understand the levels of your hormone cortisol peak between 8 and 9 a.m. Cortisol increases your heart rate and blood pressure. It's your natural fight or flight response. If you wake up with anxiety, the very last thing you want to do is douse the fire with fuel by drinking coffee, because it raises cortisol levels, which makes you feel alert and awake. But when you exceed 200 milligrams, it can trigger anxiety and panic attacks.
I'm sorry, it must be decaf.
Instead, hold off until 10:30 a.m. when your cortisol levels have normalized, then have a cup of coffee. And here's where you need to listen closely. Combine it with L-theanine in a specific ratio. L-theanine is a naturally occurring compound found in smaller doses in black and green tea, including yerba mate. It's a cognitive enhancer that boosts GABA levels to help promote focus and regulate moods. The studied ratio is 1:2. For example, have 100 milligrams of caffeine with 200 milligrams of L-theanine. This reduces the negative effects of caffeine while making you feel focused, productive, and alert. And when you combine it with the next step, it will help you to hyper-focus and negate the negative effects of social media. The next tip is a technique that I've used over the past few years to still my mind before I sit down to write. It boosts energy and focus within 10 minutes of practicing it. If I have a short deadline, even though it seems counterintuitive, instead of diving right in, I'll invest 10 minutes into this practice because it comes with a big payoff. It's called gazing meditation practice and is steeped in research. And here's where it gets really interesting. Studies have found that distractions in the mind translate to micro movements in the eyes and vice versa. Sight is so critical that almost half of your brain is dedicated to vision. Researchers uncovered that eyes and their micro movements can hint at mental health conditions. And eye examinations could even enable clinicians in the future early detections of neuropsychiatric conditions such as anxiety and ADHD, because they're accompanied by an increase in erratic eye movements. A possible reason that social media has been linked to a statistically but modest association between social media use and symptoms of ADHD could be because doomsday scrolling is completely unnatural to your eyes and your brain.
Let's turn to some lighter news, the end of the world.
This is why our attention spans keep getting shorter, and it's also why you must listen closely. To retrain your brain to focus, try this gazing meditation practice. It's called Trataka. It involves focusing the eyes and in turn your mind through relaxed gazing at a spot in the distance. First, you practice with eyes open, then progress to eyes closed, gazing into the void. Candle gazing is one example. Personally, I'll pick a spot on the horizon and do this. To optimize this practice even more, take L-theanine 30 minutes prior, as it's been shown to increase alpha brainwaves, which is a calm and meditative-like state. This will allow you to enter a state of flow faster. Anecdotal evidence suggests Trataka improves concentration, memory, cognitive function, and calms the mind, which in turn boosts energy and focus. The bottom line is, to consistently perform at your best, you must have a personalized protocol that adjusts to your stress levels and physiological and biological needs. But your first step is to take the free quiz below to work out the underlying causes of why you're unfocused and lack energy. It will give you instant clarity on what areas will have the biggest impact on your ability to reach your goals based on neuroscience, psychology, and biohacking.